My name is Will. This happened when I was 18, right in the middle of the worst summer of my life. My parents had just finalized their divorce. Tension was everywhere. My mom cried a lot, my dad avoided eye contact, and my little brother Jamie was just confused. So, my dad did what he thought would fix it all. He planned a guys-only camping trip, way out in the middle of nowhere. No phones, no internet, no distractions, just the three of us and a bunch of trees. It wasn't something I was excited about, but I went along with it. Honestly, I would have done anything to get out of the house. We drove about 2 hours to this forest reserve my dad had been to when he was younger. I remember thinking the area looked like something out of a postcard. A quiet little lake, a few trails, nothing too touristy. The first day went fine. We set up camp, cooked hot dogs, made s'mores, the usual. That night, I laid in the tent listening to the chirping bugs and Jamie's soft breathing next to me. Dad was on the other side of the tent, snoring already. At some point, I woke up to pee. I slipped on my shoes, unzipped the tent, and stepped into the thick night air. It was humid. The moon was bright enough that I didn't need a flashlight, so I walked out near the edge of the lake, handled my business, and turned to head back. That's when I saw it. Or rather, him. Across the lake, which couldn't have been more than 40 or 50 feet wide, was a man, standing completely still, alone. No fire, no lantern, no movement, just standing there, watching. At first, I froze. I thought maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me. I blinked. The shape was still there. I turned back toward the tent and whispered, "Dad." He answered from right behind me inside the tent.
Yeah?
And that's when my stomach dropped. Whoever I was looking at wasn't my dad. I turned back toward the lake, and the man was gone. Just vanished. No sound, no splash, nothing. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to listen, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat. I backed up slowly and slipped back inside the tent. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't wake Jamie. I just laid there, eyes wide open, for what felt like hours. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, everything looked normal. The lake was calm, the forest was quiet. I told myself I'd imagined it. Maybe it was a shadow. Maybe I was still half asleep. But that afternoon, while hiking a little trail with Jamie, we found something. In a patch of soft dirt near the base of a tree, there were footprints. Bare footprints. Big, human, deep, like someone had been standing there for a long time. I pointed it out to Jamie, and he asked if someone had been watching us. I just said it was probably a ranger, even though I knew rangers wore boots. That night, I told my dad what I saw. He brushed it off, said it was probably another camper, but I noticed him keeping the hatchet a little closer while we sat around the fire, and when we went to sleep, he double-checked the zipper on the tent 3 times. The second night was worse. I couldn't sleep again. Every little crack or breeze sent my brain racing. Around 2 a.m., I thought I heard something, a soft shuffling sound outside the tent, but when I peeked through the mesh, I didn't see anything. Still, I couldn't shake that feeling, like someone was watching us. The next morning, we packed up early. My dad didn't say it, but I think he felt it too, like the woods didn't want us there anymore. But the part I'll never forget happened just before we left. I walked down to the lake one last time to get a drink of water. There, drawn into the sand with a stick, or maybe a finger, were 3 symbols. 3 stick figures, a big one, a medium one, and a small one, like a dad, a teen, and a kid. Us. I erased it quickly, heart pounding, and didn't say a word. We left less than 20 minutes later. We never went back to that forest. Jamie doesn't even remember the trip that well, and my dad, if he remembers, has never brought it up. But every now and then, usually during the hottest part of summer, I think about those footprints, that shadow across the lake, and the feeling in my gut that someone or something followed us home that night.
He waved for help, but the pool was empty. I swear no one else was supposed to be there. My name is Jonah. This story takes place during the summer after my first year of college, when I was back in my hometown trying to save money. I got a part-time job as a lifeguard at this community pool just outside of town. Nothing fancy, just a small outdoor spot surrounded by cracked pavement, a chain-link fence, and a broken vending machine that only dispensed Diet Coke. It wasn't glamorous, but the pay was decent, and most days were dead slow, especially during the late shifts. Every Wednesday, I'd work alone from 4 p.m. until close at 9. By 7:30, most families were gone, and by 8, I usually had the place to myself. That's when I started to notice something wasn't right. It began with small things, like chairs being moved, a locker swinging open when I knew it had been shut. I chalked it up to wind or kids being careless. But then there was the diving board. There were 3 pool rules we were told to drill into every guest. 1. No running. 2. No glass bottles. 3. No one uses the diving board after 8 p.m. We locked the board with a chain latch right around sunset, every time, and every time I checked it before cleaning up. But on one Wednesday night in mid-July, I found it, unlatched. It wasn't just hanging open either. It was fully extended, wobbling like it had just been jumped on. I remember standing at the edge of the pool, staring at the rippling water beneath it. It was perfectly calm. No one else was there. No one had checked in for over an hour. I relatched the board, shook it a few times just to be sure, and finished cleaning up. But it happened again and again, week after week, like clockwork. Eventually, I started checking the security footage. We only had one camera, old, grainy, barely functioning, mounted above the main entrance and facing the pool. And one night, I saw something that made my stomach twist. At 8:21 p.m., the camera flickered, then froze. When it came back online a few seconds later, the diving board chain was undone, just like before. But this time, there was a shadow on the board. No features, no face, just a dark shape. Tall, thin, unmoving. Then it was gone. I told my boss, but she brushed it off. Said the equipment was outdated and that kids probably snuck in after hours. So the next week, I came prepared. I brought my own GoPro, mounted it on a pole near the deep end, and hit record. That night was especially quiet. No kids, no visitors, just me, the buzzing of the pool lights, and the occasional splash of a beetle hitting the water. At 8:12, I locked the diving board, checked the filter, and sat in my chair scrolling through my phone. It was subtle, like someone belly flopping, but muffled. I looked up. The diving board was bouncing. I froze. I didn't move for a good 10 seconds, waiting to hear laughter or splashing or something, but there was nothing, just the creaking of the board and the distant hum of traffic. I stood up slowly and walked to the edge of the pool. And that's when I saw him. A boy, maybe 10 years old, pale, wearing red trunks and an old-school pair of goggles, just standing there underwater at the bottom of the deep end, looking straight up at me. His arms were outstretched, not waving, just reaching. I jumped back instinctively, nearly slipping on the wet tile. I looked again, but he was gone. Not swimming, not surfacing, just gone. I didn't even think. I dove in, searched every corner of the pool. I even pulled the pool net and dragged it along the bottom in case he was stuck. Nothing. I checked the gate, the locker room, the filter system. Everything was locked. No wet footprints, no noise, no sign that anyone had been there except me. I went home shaking. When I checked the GoPro footage the next morning, the battery had died at 8:22, exactly 2 minutes before it happened. I still have that footage. All it shows is me sitting in my chair, then a flicker, and then static. A few days later, I did some digging, asked around the neighborhood. A woman who lived across from the pool remembered something. She said a boy had drowned there, back in the early 90s. Same age, Same red trunks. According to her, the family moved away shortly after it happened. They never even held a funeral in town. I quit the job the following week. No explanation, no 2-week notice. I just stopped showing up. My boss called once, left a voicemail, and that was it. To this day, I don't know what I saw. I don't know if it was a memory, a warning, or a ghost caught in a loop. But every summer, when I pass that old community pool, I glance over at the diving board, just to see if the chain is still there. And sometimes it isn't.